Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fly Me to the Philippines. Before we talk about which top 6 cities I think are worthy of retirement in the Philippines, we need to talk about you and what are your priorities. So first of all, let's just talk about healthcare, okay? There's something called the golden rule. If you have a heart attack or if you're in an automobile accident and if they can't get you to a quality hospital in 60 minutes, in 1 hour, your chances of surviving go way, way down. And so you need to ask yourself, are you willing to be in a province? Are you willing to be in a third-tier city? If you are a veteran, you get free medical care from the VA, and the only VA facility is in the Manila area. That's going to be a very big determination. Now, you can always take a $30, $40 flight and fly up for the day and have your checkups done, but you might think that that's important. And if you do want to be near the VA hospital, you're going to want to consider the places that you can get there within maybe 2 hours. And that's going to be the suburbs of Angeles City. It's going to be the upscale modern lifestyle you get in Makati or BGC or Taguig, and possibly in Olongapo down by Subic Bay. And even Bataan is a nice area you might consider. Now, healthcare. If you're not a veteran, where are the best hospitals? Well, St. Luke in Manila is considered the best hospital in the Philippines. And in general, Manila area is going to have the best healthcare options for you. After Manila, you're going to have the 2 largest metropolitan areas after Manila, and that's going to be Davao and Cebu City. Both have approximately like 2.4 million people in the metropolitan area. Both have high quality health care. You've heard of Dumaguete, obviously. It's only about 125,000 people in Dumaguete, but they do have a teaching hospital, Silman, there, which is of good quality, and people report they feel comfortable with the medical care they can get at Silman. Now, the number 2 priority is weather. It's probably like 88 degrees outside, but I'm feeling like a very strong breeze right now. I feel very cool, but I'm at 500 feet of elevation. I love the beach. I don't spend that much time at the beach, and I'm not in the sun, and I'm not around the salt water. And when you get to be my age, I just turned 68, being around the sun at the beach and in that salt water, unless your passion is scuba, you're going to age pretty rapidly, and you're going to look a little bit like a California raisin if you're not careful. For me personally, being at elevation was a revelation. I didn't understand it when I came here. I just thought, okay, in order to meet a Filipina like Chrissy, I'll deal with the food and I'll deal with the stinky hot humid weather. But it's turned out to be pretty good. It took about 3 weeks to acclimatize to the humidity. The first 2 weeks were sort of miserable, but after 3 weeks I sort of got used to it. And we have rotating fans. We have all kinds of fans in the house. They don't cost much money to run, and you know, as long as you can control the temperature, and you know, at night you can have a fan on, and it's really very comfortable without air conditioning most of the year. But I'm at 500 feet of elevation. In the first place I stayed, it didn't have the breeze, and we ran the air conditioner all the time. So finding a place at elevation, the type of climate, do you want to be at the beach? Do you need to be able to walk to a beach? 10 to 15, 20-minute drive away, is that good enough? You know, if you live in Dumaguete, the beaches aren't right there. You got to go 15, 20 minutes away to get to the nicer beach. If you live in the hills of Valencia above Dumaguete, you're going to need to drive 15, 25, 30 minutes to get to the beach down the mountain. If you're in Tagaytay, up at 2,200 feet of elevation, 2 hours south of Manila, you're not near the beach. If you're in Baguio, up high in the mountains, you're an hour and a half down the mountain to La Union, but you're going to burn $20 US worth of gas getting back up that hour and a half ride, 2 hour ride back up the mountain. So it's a big commitment to go down. And then, you know, Iloilo has beaches nearby. Davao has lots of beaches and lots of coastline, lots of views. I've talked to you about CDO. You know, Bohol, the island, Panglao is a great beach town, but it's a little touristy and it's hot. So the heat, when you get down by coastline, it's hot, it's humid, it's just really, really hot. And there's the risk of typhoon. So when you talk about weather, you're talking severe weather events. And some of you may know, we just experienced a typhoon that sort of parked over central and northern Luzon last week. And there was just torrential flooding in Manila and up in Baguio, and there were pictures of a bridge with, like, you know, large boats getting stuck underneath the bridge. It was crazy. Anytime you pick a city in the Philippines, you need to ask yourself how much of a disaster area is it. We had an earthquake just this morning, 6.8, the same place we had one 6 months ago, off the coast north of Davao, off about 100 miles into the ocean between Davao and Surigao. And so Davao is going to get some earthquake activity. It's pretty far south. It doesn't get too much typhoon activity. And then where I am in Cagayan de Oro, we're pretty safe. We don't get many typhoons. It's something to consider. How are the roads? Are they passable during heavy rains? Are you likely to get wiped out in a typhoon? We flew into Lapu-Lapu, Cebu City, last year, and the taxi driver explained to us that 2 or 3 years ago there was a typhoon. He lost electrical power for 90 days on Lapu-Lapu. Bohol tends to get hit by typhoons and earthquakes. Tagaytay is very close, and Cavite are very close to Taal volcano. Number 3 is shopping. Now that I'm in the Philippines, I like shopping at what's called S&R. It's 20% owned by Costco. The quality of the ground beef is good. You can buy large volumes of things like nuts at reasonable prices. You can find real Gouda cheese and things like that. And it kind of feels like going to Costco. And then we have an enormous wet market here in Cagayan de Oro. We get crazy fresh vegetables for 1/4 the price of a mall supermarket. Now, what about your hobbies? Okay, look, so I play golf, and we only pay, call it $14 roughly. If I play right down the road here in Cagayan de Oro, it's going to be 2,000 pesos, or like $36. Some of the courses in Cebu City, in the Manila area, they can be 3 or 4 times as expensive. These are the things you want to take into account. If you're a golfer, do you want to live near an affordable golf course, or do you want to live near a big city where you're going to pay double or triple to play a game of golf? Now, let's get to the list of what are my top 6 cities for retirement in the Philippines. Right away, let's just talk about Metro Manila. I am very fond of Makati, not so much BGC. That's just my own personal opinion. I think BGC reminds me of like Century City in Los Angeles. It's sterile, it looks like corporate. There's not many people out walking on the street. It's very hot. There aren't enough high-rises to provide the kind of shade that you get in Makati. Makati is like the Beverly Hills of the Philippines. There's so many buildings, so when you're walking in the street, quite often you're in the shade of a high-rise building. The Greenbelt Mall and the area around Legazpi Street is really terrific. There are so many good restaurants, and there's so many things to do, and there's so many expats. The mall is full of Louis Vuitton and Prada and things like that, but the restaurants are terrific. There's beautiful women walking around everywhere. There's foreigners, there's Chinese and South Korean tourists and people who own condos in Makati and have invested there, and it's very first world. Now, while you're in the Manila area, the other places you can look at, or you can go down to Subic Bay, Olongapo. It has good utilities, a lot of older ex-military guys down there along the beach, and the bars along the beach, a good, strong community of ex-military retirees, good services, decent food, decent enough beach. You could go an hour and 45 minutes to Angeles City. You know, it's not for what you might be thinking, but there are gated communities in the hills along out the suburbs of Angeles City, around Clark. You're going to see traffic lights and roads that are flat and good infrastructure. And again, you'll be able to get to those VA facilities. And Bataan is another area you might want to look at. So if you think the medical in Manila is important to you, you want to be able to go to an S&R, you want to be able to have everything available to you. Well, Manila's got everything. The rents you pay are going to be 30-40% more expensive than in other cities. So keep that in mind. Okay, so Metro Manila, number 1. Baguio, number 2. Okay, Baguio is the summer retreat of the presidents and the politicians, and you know, the Supreme Court has offices there, and it is at 4,000 plus feet of elevation. It never really gets above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Maybe during the worst of the heat wave, it might have a little bit of a heat issue. A lot of the properties have no heat, no air conditioning, and it's really gorgeous. The infrastructure is pretty darn good. It's the richest part of the Philippines outside of Metro Manila. Again, CDO is number 2. And I thought the infrastructure was pretty darn good. They have taxi. The town is flush with taxis, and they're mostly going up and down hills, and they don't drive many kilometers. So taxi rides were really cheap, even if you're like 15 minutes in the taxi. Now, weekends, traffic is brutal, and you probably don't want to leave your house on the weekend. And if you're just visiting, try and avoid the weekend. But there's a lot to see, and that's why the tourists are all going there. They want to get out of the heat. Fort John Hay area, I thought it was further out of town than it is. It's really very close to town. It is just gorgeous out there, and there's a beautiful, beautiful golf course out there. It's just spectacular. So, and if you want to come to the Philippines and enjoy cool climates, now it rains 3 times more in Seattle. However, it comes down hard, so it's not raining like 3 times as many hours, but it's going to rain cats and dogs, and it's going to, by volume, it's 3 times as much rainfall as Seattle. And, you know, it's all going to come primarily in the rainy season. But boy, you can see the clouds at, you know, right outside your patio. It's really nice. I like Baguio. I like the weather there. And now, Tagaytay is 2 hours or so south of Manila. It's a little bit close to Taal volcano that went off in 2020 and shut down the Manila airport for a few days. For me, I don't know if it's really too close. I don't know if you're going to get enough warning for a volcano going off. It's around 2,200 feet, and a lot of expats really enjoy the proximity to Manila. They can get into Manila in a 2-3 hour drive. They have the 2,200 feet. You're going to get a microclimate, really cool weather. You're going to be able to sleep at night with your windows open, and you're going to enjoy a lot of the services. I'm pretty sure there's an SNR there. You know, you're not too far from hospitals in the main city of Manila, and good hospitals there as well. It's sort of like CDO quality. And Tagaytay is an area that you might want to consider, as long as the volcano's not too close. Cavite and Tagaytay. That's number 3, Tagaytay. Number 4, Davao on Mindanao. Now, Mindanao has a red zone and a yellow zone, and Davao is in the yellow zone. And the U.S. State Department just downgraded Davao from level 3 security concern to level 2 security concern. The former president was the mayor. His son is the current mayor. If you ask the average Filipino what's the safest and cleanest city, I think 90+% would say Davao. Samal Island is right across the bay, and you have the Bucanans right up behind it. So depending on where you live, there's a strong chance you're going to get a view of the Bucanans or a view of the bay in Samal Island. So you're going to have some eye candy. And then if you want elevation, you can go into the foothills of the Bucanans. And you know, as I've shown you, there are waterfalls, and there's you know, the canyons up there near Malabalay. Malabalay is equal distance between CDO and Davao. And I had a subscriber write to me. He said, Rob, you know, you talk up CDO, and, you know, the weather in the uptown's a little bit better. But he said, you know, Davao's the bomb. I speak Visayan. I've been in the Philippines for 18 years. I've been to all but 8 provinces out of like 80. And he thought the weather was better in Davao. The best part of the Bucanans were in Davao. Shopping was better in Davao. Infrastructure is better in Davao. So that's number 4, Davao. Schools, hospitals, oceanfront, bay, Bucanan Mountains, good airport, some international arrivals in Davao also. So I think Davao is worth a really strong look. And now, obviously, Dumaguete has to be on the list. Dumaguete is a small town. There are no taxis in Dumaguete, so you're going to take trikes everywhere you go, whereas in Davao and these other cities, there's taxis everywhere. So Dumaguete has a lot to offer because it has it's not a boardwalk, it's not a Malacan, because there's no beach, there's nobody swimming in the ocean when you walk. But at night, you know, it's very festive. A lot of people, you can promenade down the Malacan, and you can see the water, and you can catch some breeze. And so even during the day, if you walk on the other street side, you can get some shade from those large trees they have planted along the road. And I think that's very nice. And most Westerners are looking for that. They think of the Philippines, they think of the water, they want to see the water, be near the water, and that's very, very appealing. The town itself is quite congested, and we rented a car and went up to Valencia, and we drove around, and you don't see these large guard-gated single-family home communities like you do here in CDO. We have like at least 2,000 or 3,000 homes within 5 miles of me behind guard-gated communities that look quite Western. And other parts of the Philippines that I've mentioned have these too. Not so much in Baguio, but other parts have them. Dumaguete, it tends to be compounds. Usually an expat got there 5 years ago or 20 years ago. He bought 5 hectares. He built a main house, and then he, pretty smart guy, he built like 5 apartment buildings and maybe put a pool there. And you know, he rents it out to expats. If you have a motorcycle, if you have a car, you can get in and out of Dumaguete, or it's difficult to take trikes to the bus and take the jeepney down the hill. It's not the way to go, and bring your groceries home by jeepney. So you need transportation, and when you're up there in Valencia, you'll get a nice breeze. You're up at 800,000 feet. You can get a breeze in the evening and turn off your air, but the noise could be quite considerable. You know, that compound could have locals next door. There were dozens of rooster farms up in those hills in Valencia. I don't have first-hand experience, and I'm sure people will write in and tell me it's awesome, and they can comment below what's really great about Valencia. Iloilo would be number 6 on the list. I'm going to leave CDO last because I live here, but Iloilo is, you know, they took the old airport and they closed it down. They built a new airport, and then they built a road from the new airport to the old airport, and they built this festive walk, and they built the downtown area, and it is all master planned, high-rise. So if you just want a real easing into the Philippines, and you want sidewalks that aren't buckled, and you want a really nice infrastructure downtown at a reasonable price. It's a little bit more expensive than CDO, maybe 10, 12%. But Iloilo was really, really nice and had great little infrastructure downtown. There's an esplanade along the river, and you can get to beaches on Guimaras. You can go to Rojas across the island, 2 hours away, and it's a nice beach town. So that offers another area but it's hot and you're not at elevation. So take that into consideration. Dumaguete, if you live in the city of Dumaguete, you're not at elevation. It's going to be hot. If you live in Iloilo, it's going to be hot. Now, you might be in a condo only 100 meters from everything you'll ever need, so it won't matter. But that's the medical care there is going to be on par, I think, with CDO. And CDO has terrible infrastructure, but there's so many things to do on a day trip, and there's cold springs. There's waterfalls 2 hours away in Iligan. There's waterfalls 2 hours away up in the Buchanans. There's canyons that look like New Zealand up in the Buchanans. There's a golf course in Manolo Fortiche. There's the beach in Initao an hour away. Beautiful white sandy beaches. Camiguin Island is 2 hours away by ferry, 2-hour drive and ferry ride. There is so much to do, and there's an uptown area here where I live, which is about 8 kilometers south of downtown. We have malls up here. We have subdivision after subdivision after subdivision, and we have no trikes allowed. It's all taxis, Western restaurants, spas, everything. It looks a little bit, the zoning is more typical of the US or Canada. You don't see the sari stores fronting the main avenue. You don't see the half-empty bags of concrete spewed in front of half-built houses. This area in Uptown I particularly like because it has a little bit better zoning. However, I will tell you that if you just came to Cagayan de Oro by yourself, you didn't have a friend who could tell you where to stay, what to do, which driver had a decent taxi to take you around, you might think you landed in hell, and you got a loud downtown cheap hotel, and there was karaoke at midnight and trikes and horns and noise and pollution, and all they had was a bunch of malls down there. You would like, what the heck? Where's the beach? Where's the boardwalk that Dumaguete has? Where's the hills and the views that Baguio has? Where's the festive walk that Ilo? What about, you know, where's the cleanliness and the spread out? Like, we don't have it in downtown CDO, but we have this uptown area with a really great golf course. We have private schools, multiple good private schools, and we have an entrepreneur class that are living in guard-gated communities and single-family homes, and we have some zoning along the road, but we have a lot of traffic, especially around school time. So that is my list for the 6 retirement cities plus CDO. Again, most guys don't do it the right way. Most guys meet a Filipina and decide to live an hour or 2 from her family. If they're 2.5 hours away, they sleep over. So that sweet spot's probably somewhere between an hour and 2 hours away to have your Filipina's family. That tends to be the biggest deciding factor for where people retire. For private consultation, email me. Until next time, from Fly Me to the Philippines, Chrissy will be back.